You are listening to the Unglamorous Life. It's just me, Celeste, no Laurin today. But this is a very special episode. I have an incredibly talented guest. She's my best friend, my heterosexual life partner. She's one of my role models. She's a former WWE diva, a New York Times best-selling author. She's a mental health advocate. She's a real-life superhero. And she's kind of an asshole. Please welcome AJ Mendez. I should probably warn you, we're total idiots. We talk about flatulence, AJ getting mouth kissed by my dog in real time. I think we talk about boners at some point, of course, all while trying to take a picture together to promote this podcast. Welcome to our friendship. It takes AJ and I a bit of time to get to the point, but we eventually reach an extremely personal discussion about our own personal struggles and flaws. I talk about my battle with addiction. AJ discusses her book and how she's embraced her bipolar disorder and has used it to help others. I really think that this is a very real and raw conversation, and I think it will touch a lot of you. Not inappropriately, of course. Oh, God, I'm a lost cause. Be honest, what do I look like?
Scale of 1 through 10.
Do I look like the piece of shit that I am?
Oh God, please don't use that one.
I get it edited and everything.
It's the only one you
permanently
use.
change the cover of my podcast to that. Just you thinking that.
You motherfucker.
Sometimes, yeah. And sometimes this just sounds like someone's passing gas that is on
Someone's
the
just ripping ass.
ripping ass. I was trying to be polite, but no, it sounds like someone's like literally ripping a lot. It was like the most action I've witnessed. I didn't even have it. Let me just delete
I
the.
haven't been home in a week. That's the
Yeah,
most action I've
wow.
had in quite some time.
You're like, you know what? You know what? I'm good.
Do I think Simon is an angsty teen? Not yet. But
He's 7 years old, right? Like dog years.
oh, so he's just a little old
He's
man.
an angsty old man. So Larry is your child, your son,
Yes, is my furry son.
and he is part dog,
Yes.
part we don't know what else.
Probably old man who's cursed by a gypsy, or a werewolf.
Which is very fitting for you. When I first met Larry, I knew that it was a good fit.
He looks like he's my dog.
He does.
And I don't know how to explain that.
It's not one of those, your dog, the owner and dog look like, where, it's not
Right.
that. Please don't be mad at me. It's not that. It's like you are so obscure and interesting that you would have that dog. Like you would never have a golden retriever.
Right.
Also, you have a lot of rage built up towards golden retrievers, which
do.
we'll dig a little bit into that
Right,
eventually. But
I love all dogs very much, but I also feel like there is this apple pie, perfection to golden retrievers that I can't get down with. I need the freaks.
Right.
In every aspect of my life. Which accounts for our friendship so much.
Yeah.
And also every dog
I'm
I've ever
scratching my crotch while you're saying that.
but I do. I like the weird, I don't know. There's we were looking for so long.
I think I'm drinking your water. Did I? I didn't drink this yet, by the way. Did I do it earlier? I haven't drank out of that one yet. Have I?
That one's yours.
They're both poison.
Hey, look,
so.
if you have something, I definitely have it by now. So
Were we kidding? I didn't
one
drink
person.
from that one just now, but I think I have drank out of both. Just so to preface
I'm
that. Okay, back to the golden retrievers.
But we were interested in getting a dog for so long, and we kept looking at these rescue sites, and I don't know, for me, everything, every decision in my entire life, like I know that something is right, but it's like this like gut feeling, and like I can never pinpoint it, but some stuff just feels like it belongs to me, or it's like my fate, or it would be a good match. And that's like, I can tell that with like people right away.
I can absolutely 100% attest to that. Like it's the strangest thing. I can't explain it, but like I know like I think I know a lot of interesting people that bring different things to the table, but like if there's one thing for sure that I would say about you besides that, like you love cardigans, like, you are the cardigan of
I have a cardigan right now.
Yeah. You are literally a cardigan. That's my window's shaking. It's not haunted, I swear. But I will say that anyone who I've ever like had a conversation with, like where you've come up or whatever, or is like, it's so weird how stuff happens like on certain days at certain times are just the situation around something that sways a decision or is like a sign for you. Right. It's so crazy. Like every story of anything ever that was significant in your life, you always have some cool story to say, like, well, I had this feeling, or I just knew because of this, or
it's really weird. I know what you're saying. Like it is, and I know it's like, and I'm going off on a tangent, but like I think because it will sound like a pity party, but it's not. Because I had it so rough as a child, I think like if there is some sort of higher being that like looks over us, like I think he forgot I existed and then was like, oh shit.
And he was like making up for lost time.
Yeah, I sort of feel like he's like, I sort of, I made you super tough and resilient, and now I'm just gonna like throw you little like hints every now and then. So I get like gut instincts, and I follow them, or like I feel like I can think of something that I really want, and I weirdly like bring it to fruition.
You do. And actually, I just want to put this out on the table. I had you here on this podcast so I could get ideas for my new detective show. So it's loosely based. The main character is loosely based on you.
And McGruff. I'm okay with that.
Okay, McGruff is the main character.
That's fine. That's fine. I would definitely be his sidekick. But I don't know what it is, but I could... With Larry, I looked at so many pictures, and I want every single dog. I want to adopt them, but I saw his face, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's my dog."
So you decided before you met him? It was just based on pictures?
I just knew it, and I just knew for some reason that he like needed us. And then we went to. I had no idea about his backstory, and we went to the shelter to pick him up. And it turns out he was like the one dog that had been there for so long and nobody wanted. And he had been adopted like 3 different times and brought back. And people were he was just way too much to handle.
Yeah.
And, and he's a lot to handle. But I feel like he was waiting for me and my husband. Like we were the perfect match. Because
this is all meant to be.
Yeah, we're crazy just like he is. And I don't know, it just worked out.
But like, so just short, like briefly explain your living situation with living with Larry, like what it's like.
Oh yes, so Larry's just like a third like roommate in the house,
and he doesn't have a job. Is it correct?
He's just a real asshole. Okay. Like he,
so he doesn't pay rent. I'm assuming.
He doesn't pay rent. He tells us when to go to bed. He tells us when to wake up by hitting us in the face.
So it's like a open pod or like open.
It's like
a bitch slap.
Yeah, I would say definitely like a bitch paw.
Okay.
And he lets you know it's time to wake up.
Okay.
Throughout the night, he will wake us up also by hitting us
just for like attention to like say look
to go
at
like
me?
Under the blanket because he gets cold.
Okay.
And then he gets too hot.
Understandable.
Yeah. So he wakes us up about like 6 times a night. He tells us when he wants food by just like standing on top of our chests. Even if we're sitting completely upright, he will figure out a way.
Do you think that he has no spatial awareness, or he certainly knows?
I think he knows exactly how uncomfortable he's making us, and he thrives off that.
He doesn't even need to eat. He just eats like as a facade. Like he
eats our pain.
Yeah,
for sure.
Wow, it nourishes him.
Yeah.
So you were telling me, and I've witnessed it before, like how Larry eats, and so he's
Lord. So
he's got sad a little
underbite.
It's
an extreme underbite.
It's extreme. It's the most extreme underbite I've ever seen. It also makes him so adorable.
Yes.
But it's also like not quite super functional, like.
No, it's basically like having like we call it like a shovel mouth, and he like has to shovel his food into his mouth and then throw it into the air and then catch it. And it's not all the time, but it's a lot. It's enough where it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And it's just the cutest thing in the world. So he's just like that freak on so many different ways, and we're pretty sure he knows English, and he's super spiteful.
It's probably his third language. Like he's like fluent in spite, and then he's not as good at English, but like he knows it.
Yes. And we're pretty sure he's like 400 years old. Like we will go to like antique stores, or we look at like or museums, we look at old art, and like we can see his face and like throughout time. So he's like some sort of time lord.
Wow.
Yeah, like everything reminds us of him or looks exactly like his face. So that's why, like, he's just like with us for until we die.
Right.
And then he'll go on.
He'll outlive you. Yeah. And you won't question it.
No. He'll just like the Hulk at the end of the show. He'll just walk away into the sunset.
The music.
Yeah.
And maybe we could edit that music in this right now.
Because I would sing it if I remembered it.
Fuck.
But it's sad. It's a real bummer.
Oh no, I know, because I did a spin on it on Family Guy once with
Yes.
Stu. Yeah.
Yes.
That's like I remember that. But I think it's amazing that you found such a dog. Like it's like he completes you. Yeah. You and your husband, and so it's like so perfect. And like that's how it is too with Simon and I. Like I joke that he's like my son and my boyfriend, which is like certainly ancestral and weird. Also, he's a dog, so it's not. I don't know. It's
definitely inappropriate
for sure.
Yeah.
On
a multitude of levels.
There it is. That's what I was looking for. It's a web of inappropriate shit. So, anyways, but when I was going through my divorce, which was it was literally finalized. Like on paper, like 6 months ago, and then like completely done like the beginning of this year. So it's super recent, and then I've had him for coming up actually over a year now. Like it's been like about a year since I've had him. So he was just no, it hasn't. God damn it, I'm on the spot. I hope he's not listening. No, because
he's asleep.
Yeah, okay, thank God. No, so I needed something. I needed companionship so bad in my life, and I didn't want it to be a human because I was like super, just like didn't want to, like
you
I was
a break from humans.
Yeah, from humans. Yeah, you know how it is, right?
Yes.
So I was like, and also not wanting to put like anything towards any type of relationship, whether it was a friendship, like a whatever, unless it was like with this like little thing that I could like be around all the time and just never get sick of and just love it and whatever. And he ended up being like the most perfect little like precious gentleman / monster, which is what kind of like me. Like sometimes I
often call you a gentleman monster. Like, I get it though. He's like kind.
I'm like the Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
Oh my god. Can I be Belle? Oh my god, I love her so much. That's my favorite.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
He is like this like calming just like vibe in the room. Like like my dog, it gives me anxiety. And like that I love him and I will deal with that. But like I think you needed like a calming presence and like he just seems like this like little angel that was like, I'm here to take care of you.
He helped me so much. Like just like I needed to be responsible for like another life and not a human life.
Right.
I was like had my own that I wasn't really taking care of. So I needed something to like give me a reason to like get up in the morning and go like take him out and then be responsible and just to care for something.
Yeah.
Gave me like a lot of purpose. 'Cause there's times where like you don't feel like you have purpose or shit seems so dark or like so hard that like you just need something that you can care for and love and then also love you back. So he's been so amazing and like he's just I'm still thinking of the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. He's so perfect, but I just love that how much dogs can impact your life and be so right for you at such the right time in your life.
Yeah.
Because like you couldn't, with your career before this, you couldn't have, Well, you did have a dog.
I did, and I shared him with my sister. Well, because she lived with me and took care of him. But I was gone for so long.
Right.
That was so hard.
So you actually have pretty much the coolest story ever, too, with that dog, how you found Nacho.
Yes.
And it was another one of those, like, oh, this is for me type of moments, right?
Yeah. I've had pit bulls my whole life, and like my family would like take them in, and like so just like rescuing pit bulls was like something I felt like I should do. And the pound where I lived only had pit bull puppies, and I was gonna go in and see them, and you do like a little visit. And everyone at the pound that day was there to see the adorable puppies.
Mm-hmm, of course.
And so I felt a little weird, like getting a dog that, there's like this line of people that wanted the same dog, while there was like, all these other, little guys just nobody was playing with, nobody was even looking at. And I saw this one dog who just did not, can I curse? I can curse. We've been cursing, right?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay. This dog that did not give a fuck about any sort of attention. He was just like sitting far away in the back of his cage and was just like not into anyone. And then there's this little chihuahua with a sweater on. And I asked someone, I was like, why is he wearing that sweater? And they said that he had some sort of skin disorder. If the weather gets too cold, all of his fur falls out. And he got it from living on the streets. And then I started talking to them about his story, and they said that he had
street cred. Like it said street cred on his little label.
I was like, can you
outside.
tell me like how much street cred
like how
he
cool
has?
is he?
Like, can he put out a rap album? Is it like is it like a Justin
is
LP?
that appropriate to ask at this point?
And he belonged to someone, and they, I guess, got out, or I don't know what happened, but he was microchipped, and animal control found him, contacted the people who own the microchip, and they were like, "No, thank you. We don't want our dog back."
Oh my god!
Which is like, I want to swiftly just kick them in the balls, whoever they are, and if they don't have balls, I'll just kick them somewhere, and kick them right in the trachea.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say. Good for the vagina.
Right.
Also, but that hurts.
You could, yeah, it does hurt. It does hurt.
The pubic bone, it's like the bone in the front.
That's
I don't
true.
know what it's called.
We've had some close calls in wrestling.
Just give the most like disgusting laugh.
Like you had like fond memories of it.
I'm like so pleased with myself. Sorry. Anyways.
Oh man. So this poor dog was abandoned. Hurt his leg while he was living on the streets, got this like crazy skin disease, and then was in the pound for a couple months. Like nobody wanted him. He was in order for a pound to get money from the government, they have to euthanize every 7 days. And they'll pick like and they'll like kind of round up the ones they think nobody wants every 7 days, which is like, what kind of decision is that to make as someone who volunteers is trying to like, help these
dogs?
How
do you pick,
Yeah. So it'll be like the most dangerous ones, or it'll be ones that nobody's really looking at, or the sick ones, like Nacho. And he was a last day dog, so he was on death row. And the Humane Society...
Fuck, so much street cred.
So much street cred, this guy. The Humane Society would come in. What they normally do is when they have some space in the shelters, they'll go into pounds and they'll scoop up all the last day dogs. The ones that they think like could be adopted at the very least. And he got rescued on his last day. And then he was just sitting for months in the Humane Society. Nobody wanted this bald dog. And so I just like heard this whole story, and I never liked Chihuahuas. I did not understand the appeal of a tiny dog. I had pit bulls my whole life. And some older guy walking around the shelter put his hand in the cage, in Nacho's cage, and like pointed at him. And I just got this like feeling of like, get the hell away from my dog. Yeah. And I just knew it in that moment. And so he walked away, and then I put my hand in the cage, and I was like, it's okay. It's okay. He's gone. It's you and me. And he just immediately puked on me. And I was like, well, well, okay. This is your mind. You've claimed
it's such a
your territory.
It's such a like I love you so much. Let me puke on you because I'm so excited. You're gonna be my mom.
I'm too excited. And,
That's so
and then I took him
adorable.
home, and I got a couple more. I've got a Chihuahua after that, another one to be a companion, and he can't leave Florida because he's got the skin condition, and even on like cold nights, like his hair can like clump and fall out. But you know, he's still my baby.
Oh, Nacho. What was his name originally before?
El Dorado.
Okay.
So shelters have to like name every dog.
They do.
So.
It gets repetitive and hard to like come up with something.
New ones.
El Dorado's actually really good, but I'm pretty sure that if it was in Florida, which it was, that it was named after my favorite furniture store, which is El Dorado.
Oh,
I'd like to think that. Although that's probably, I mean, when you think of El Dorado, if you Googled it, the furniture store isn't what pops up. Like, but whatever. So, anyways, speaking of furniture, and this is the worst segue ever, but you like my furniture and you're at my house right now because you're visiting me.
Yes.
And this is the first time you've come to visit me in ever, I think.
I know.
Like, since our past
I know.
life.
I was like a little bit, I mean, a lot, like in the red of this friendship.
Oh,
like,
yeah. You
I
were
was,
like tits deep in the red. That's what I say now instead of balls deep because I feel like it's more like pro chick, like tits deep.
But
right?
like, where are you putting the? I mean, sure, okay, I'll go with it.
Just I feel like your question. Okay, yeah, we're going with it. Just
tits deep in the red.
You're so very fucking condescending sometimes that it.
That's just my voice. My regular voice sounds a lot like a condescending.
But no one saw the
voice.
hand motion that you were doing.
That's true.
That was condescending. Okay.
Touche. Yeah. I was in the red in our relationship.
You
had visited me twice. You came out to surprise me for my birthday.
Yeah.
And I don't even think you realized like that I was in like this crazy deep depression.
I didn't.
Oh my Lord. We will get back to that.
Yeah.
And then you came out
Of the closet.
You came
Not yet. Not yet. Good try though. Good try.
And, oh my gosh, I think you were doing, what were we doing? Like a podcast? I can't even remember.
I just came to visit you.
You were just having fun.
What was in, you know what it was? And so I had come that initial time to see you on your birthday, and it was actually, it's crazy to hear that you were going through such a hard time because I was too, and I literally had just decided to get a fucking divorce. And so I was like, fuck it. Like I hadn't seen you in so long.
Did we even talk about that?
No,
we didn't, right?
Your husband set it up behind your back.
But
as a surprise.
Right.
I'm making it sound like so awful. No, but he was like, I think that's probably fucking I'm like, what are you gonna do about that? No, because like I think that he reached. I think that he probably reached out to me knowing, that you weren't in a good place, and I was like, literally no hesitation. I was like, fuck yeah. I was literally sleeping on my mom's couch. So It was like, I didn't even found a place yet. I just knew I had to get the fuck out of where I was living with my ex-husband. So it was like this awesome, like, I literally hadn't seen you in so long. I hadn't seen you since we were wrestling, I think, right?
Wow. I mean, I feel like there might have been a time in between we were in the same spot, but maybe not.
No.
So maybe it was like 2 years.
Yeah, it was a while.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
we talk all the time.
We do.
And like I feel like we have the kind of friendship where we can like go like a month without texting,
and it's
then
fine.
We're just, like, we pick right up.
Just respond to the question left unread like a month later, and there's like no, it's fine.
Yeah,
just because we know we have like crazy busy lives, and it's whatever. Like,
and we're both weirdly antisocial in so many ways. So it's like sometimes we just can't.
Like I read this, but I can't. I respect what you said to me, or like I'm acknowledging it through some sort of emotional connection to you, but I'm not going to respond.
I'll get to
until
it.
next. So yeah, basically. But that's so. Then the next time I came to see you, I think it was we always like talk to each other about ideas we have, or like new shit we have going on, or just about like dinosaur world, whatever. And I think I was talking to you about like being in this spot, and I was like stuck, and I was like, I have all these ideas, I don't know what to do. Like, and then you had mentioned your PR. Was it Laura?
Yes.
Yeah.
Laura Drayson.
You really come
Shout out.
meet her. And I loved her so much. And we had this. So I was like, okay, let me go see AJ again. Let me meet Laura. Let me fucking go to Chicago. Because also I wanted to shop at the Free People that's near where you live.
Yes.
So I like always just drop I blow my load, if you will.
Oh my God.
At Free
That
People.
is so. Anytime we're together and we go shopping, we are the worst influences on each other because we'd be like, oh, should I buy 8 of these like in different colors?
I'm like, well, does it fit you nice?
Yeah, do you love it? Yes. They were awful. So we would go poor if we were like a married couple.
But also I think because we know each other so well and we support like, hey, you earned your money, fucking go buy yourself something nice because it's a struggle. Like we knew the struggle, right?
It's true. Like you deserve it.
Yeah.
But then also like I feel like we are the type of relationship where we would tell each other it's a bad decision, but we would support it anyway.
Yeah, like that's not a good investment, but I will be mad at you if you don't buy it.
Mm-hmm. I know you'll think about that.
Yeah.
Or like I can't believe like you killed that guy, but I'll help you bury the body.
Again. God.
So those 2 times you would come to me. Yeah. And yeah, so I was traveling. I was just at a mental health event. And
Can we get into that?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that. It's so fucking cool.
So I'm working with Nami because like as I was saying, I often fall into deep depressions. I'm bipolar and bipolar 2. There's 2 kinds of bipolar. Actually, there's 3, I believe. The third is like I can't believe I'm like it's a cycling and it's a little bit more manageable. And then there's bipolar 2, and it cycles from mania to depression, but for longer periods of time. And mania could be like I'm gonna online shop, and which I've texted you about not too long ago, where I'm just like in a manic episode, and the only thing that like I really want to do is like be really irresponsible, and online shopping is the really kind of the worst it gets for me, which is a blessing, right? Because for some people it's like promiscuity and like running into traffic and doing crazy stuff that you're putting your body in danger, and so I don't do that. I'm really happy about that. I just like clean the house the entire day until like my fingernails bleed. Like it's not great.
Okay. There's worse things.
There are worse things. I'm pretty lucky, but then there's always a crash, and my mania leads right into my depression, and my depression lasts really long normally, and there's like no reason for it. That's what being bipolar is. It's just you just sink there when you sink there. Bipolar 1 is if you have been hospitalized because of an episode, and it has more like delusions. So it's definitely the most dangerous.
Right.
So I'm bipolar 2, and
when did you start? What's to me as an outsider of someone who's bipolar, there's such a difference in being bipolar and then knowing and understanding it, and then just being bipolar and not knowing and not understanding it and just living your life in this like never knowing what you're gonna feel next. So it's kind of weird for me to like sit down with you who I know like inside and out, and then for you to be like, well, and because I've literally been side by side with you like on the road when our lives were really crazy and we were wrestling, and already just the outside influences were peaks and valleys, and just like so much adrenaline and so much like fucking shit. Like it was, you could live like you could have an emotional roller coaster in a 24-hour period, and then do it all over again and do it again for 5 days in a row, and then like so you all these outside influences, and so like I was always there for you. Obviously, like we drove together, like we slept in the same bed usually. Yes. And then we wrestled together each other a lot, or side by side, and so like I never fully understood what was going on, but I knew it was like I kind of could recognize your different behaviors, but like I didn't know the cycle of it. I didn't know why it was happening or what makes it better or worse or whatever. So it's cool, not cool, but like I guess cool is the word, to like sit down and talk to you about like how you understand it now, or like how you just are cool with it. You accept it. You have to, right? Like, it's like your only choice to embrace it as like what happens to you, and you just like, well, I'm going to be depressed now. And then
Right. Honestly, it feels like it's a part of me, the way like I have thick eyebrows and I wake up and I'm like, what are my eyebrows doing today? It's sort of the exact same thing. Like it just feels like this, like I don't even question it anymore. But like so many people, I believe it's like 50% of people, the onset of their symptoms, and this is not just for bipolar disorder, but it's for any mental health disorder, the onset will start by age 14, around age 14, which is like, can you think of any more formative year than 14? So you're already going through all these changes. You're already not sure who you are, and you're confused, and you're uncomfortable, and you're anxious. Like those are natural feelings.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, 50% of people who will have a mental health disorder, it starts at 14. 75% by the age of 24.
Is that because of the way that your brain is just developing? Like things start to happen at that time?
There's a lot of science that is still unknown. And so it's just sort of this like conjecturing about like nurture versus nature. And there's a lot of, especially for bipolar disorder, there's a lot of belief that it could be just a part of your DNA because it's like hereditary. It could be lying dormant and it never comes out. A traumatic event can activate it. Sometimes falling in love can activate it because it's just such a spike in emotions. And you get, serotonin, and your hormones change when you fall in love. And it's really anything that causes like an emotional, this viscerally emotional reaction. So for me, I honestly cannot remember a time when I didn't have symptoms. I look back and like I feel like I was always bipolar, and so it's just very strange to.
Well, you can go back and look at like you can dissect and analyze moments. You're like, well, fuck. Like this explains a lot. Like this is why I did this or felt like this or whatever. Like it reacted this way or.
I was just like so intense as a kid, and like my lows would be so low and my energy would be so high, and I didn't know what depression was, and I didn't know I was feeling it when I was like 8, and I thought it was circumstantial, and maybe it could have been, but I talk about it all the time, and I'm like proud of it. But like I lived on the streets, I lived in a car, I lived in a motel. I never had money. I was always hungry, and so like all these outside stressors could have activated it, or could have just been what I was feeling. But like I never got out of this like fog, and I didn't know what it was. So getting like diagnosed,
you would try to explain to me. Sometimes like you're like, I don't know, like my brain just gets this fog and it's so hard to explain something that is like it's not tangible.
Right.
And that's so hard. And especially if it's only like you only see it in your brain and like that's how you explain it. Like you can read about it in like a textbook or, there's obviously like a medical explanation of it, but like you see it how you see it in your brain or like how things, through your eyes. And I think that even though like I wasn't able to fully understand, but like and grasp what you were saying or like what you were feeling, but like saying that you were in a fog is like I think a good way to kind of describe it. I think like I
use it a lot. I think in my book I also like talked about like sometimes it feels like a heavy just like this lead blanket is on top of you, and you're running through quicksand. Like there's something up to a depressive state that feels just sluggish and slow motion. And yeah, I think like I've known I was bipolar since I think 19 or 20, and I just like never like talking about it. It just, especially 10 years ago or 5 years ago, was such a there is such a stigma currently, but there was even greater back then when, we grew up in a time of Britney Spears shaving her head and everyone laughing and not realizing that this is a broken person who needs support. And every single magazine just pointed and laughed. And so mental health was like this thing that was taboo to talk about. And so like I never talked about it.
Did you fully understand so you knew that you were bipolar, what you said, 20?
1920.
Did you understand it like you understand it now? I mean, I'm sure.
Oh, it took a long, like, to know, like, my changes.
Right, yeah.
Oh, that takes, like, practice. It's, like, it's weirdly, like, learning a skill.
At what point, like, would you say you were fully able to say, okay, well, if I'm going to sit down and explain it to my husband or my best friend or whatever, or write it in a book.
Right.
At what point were you able to, like, identify, like, what your cycle was or really know yourself? What do you think?
Wow. I think it has had to have been made, like, later in my 20s. Like, I mean, I always knew there was a part of me, but then I would get into these, like intense, like, fights with my family, or I'd be sad about something and it would last for a month, and I would just be like, man, I'm so sad about this. I would never, like, really separate myself from it. And as I've gotten older, I would say it's, like, recent. It has to be in, like, the last 5 years. I can wake up and be like, oof, it's a manic day, or it's a dark day.
Yeah.
That's how I refer to my depressive cycles. And I know that feeling I'm feeling isn't me. It's a part of me. It's like this little voice that's sort of like angel and devil on your shoulders. But I know it's not real. So if I wake up and I'm like, I am a piece of shit, and I'm not, I'm not worth anything, and what is the point? And like this little voice will tell you the worst possible things. I now know, I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, I know that that's not true.
Such a relief, right?
It is. I feel like I have that, like, that power over it. But those little voices, I mean, this is, like, super dark, but it's stuff that's important to, like, talk about. Like, we were talking about the other day, like, those little voices, like, never go away. Like, I am someone who has a suicide attempt, like, in my life. And, like, once you kind of cross that line, you almost, like, it never leaves you. You like know that your brain is capable of pushing you way too far and that far. And you're lucky. And I was so lucky to have survived that. But I will never, like, that will always be this voice that's, like, tries to scare me.
Right. And you have to stay, like, powerful enough to say, okay, no. Even when you're in those, like, super dark places, like, I'm super depressed right now, but I'm aware of it. And I know this voice is going to try, for whatever reason, it's going to try and pull me down to this place that I was in before. So it's just so crazy that you're like, I'm sorry, I apologize. Like, if saying crazy is like...
I love using the word crazy.
I know you do, but it's like, I feel like I'm not allowed to use it because I, like, overuse it. But I think it's really cool to be so open and, like, talk about it like how you do. And I would also like to say that both of us are super real about just, like, the dirty shit, like the bad shit, right? Like the stuff that happens to you and that goes on in your life, and, like, the stuff that's circumstantial, and the stuff that, like, just is you, right? So, like, I've been so open about, like, recently about, like, addiction and, like, going through depression and, like, and I haven't been super open about, like, my emotional state during my marriage and, like, what happened to me and, like, how I pulled myself out of it. But that's kind of, like, my next step. But it was in, like, such a bad place, like, and I was able to, like, have, like, out-of-body experience, like, look at myself, like, that's not me, like, how am I going to change my life and whatever. But, like, I've been recently super open about the initial things that were, like, the big problems in my marriage, and, like, that is addiction, and that I have a super addictive personality, and, like, I just struggle with that regularly, shit that's not drugs or alcohol, things that I know that, okay, well, and I joke about it, oh, well, I have an addictive personality, but it's true. And what I'm getting at is that you and I are so open to joking about super fucked up shit, but it's because it's real, and it's a way of like, I think, coping with it, and then, like, being okay with talking about it, even if it's super dark, just because we're like in a place where it's okay. Right.
That's exactly what it is. Like it helps you, which like first and foremost, everyone in this world needs to help themselves and love themselves first, and then worry about everyone else. I will never say put people before you. You put yourself first.
Yeah.
Always. That is the only healthy thing in the world. So it helps us. It's a coping mechanism. But also you can only joke about it when you have like conquered it in a way, when you are in control of it, and it's like you're looking backwards and like a rear view mirror at it. And like I'm always going to have bipolar disorder, but like the days of it controlling me are over. And so I think when you are like, you've planted your flag and you've like conquered something, it's your badge of honor to joke about, you know? Is. And so like for the stuff that like you haven't talked about yet, like maybe it is just like you need to get to that place. Like that's like the next step that you're working on, you know? Yeah. And, or maybe that's just like not the right outlet yet. Like maybe this is a story that needs to be told in a certain way.
In a certain light without all of the other.
Yes. With all the other
how it might
garbage.
Be conceived.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Like it needs to be its own, because it is its own story that needs attention. And like the third thing, I think I did A, B, and then number 3.
Which is about right. That's about right.
A, B, and 3. It is such a way, and I didn't know this doing it. I just kind of hoped and got lucky. But I have like all of this, the proof that it makes people more comfortable to talk about stuff. It like mental health and addiction and stuff that could be shameful and has been shameful for an eternity, has such a stigma around it because we treat it with like on a very special episode of Blossom, you know, like it is like this, like, oh, we have to all like,
careful now.
Yeah. And so if you were just like calling yourself crazy, or you were just making jokes about being addictive, you were empowering people to know that there's an after, and you can survive these things, and that it's okay to talk about.
Yeah.
And like that, the coolest thing I've ever done. I've done some really cool things with my life, and I love my past career. But like the most rewarding thing I've ever done with my life is giving this like moment and where people can tell me about their mental health journeys. I've never in my life experienced anything so profound as like this past like book tour, where people like, because I was open and honest, like painfully so, and like could joke about stuff, people during my autograph signings were coming up to me and like joking about their situations or crying about their situations, and I would just sit there and like hold their hand, and we just like talk about like cutting or suicide attempts or deep depression or anxiety.
What's such a huge thing is that it's so profound to think about that might be the first time that they've told somebody about that.
Yes. And I could feel that.
A complete fucking stranger.
And that's sometimes safer. It's like,
it is
like,
safer, yeah.
You take this story, and like the second you tell your story, you almost like feel like it like leaves your shoulders and it goes into the universe.
You're no longer the only one carrying this like heavy truth about yourself, and it's like you're honestly like holding yourself accountable for that happening to you, or you being a certain way, or that being a part of you. Is like,
yes,
you can't tell someone that and be like, just kidding. I'm fine. It's like, it's really like, so, you know, like, and I think accountability is huge no matter what you're in mental health, because you're at a point where you're like, okay, this is what is happening with me, and this is gonna be me for the rest of my life.
Right.
This is what I deal with. Or like addiction. Hey, I had this like really fucked up stage in my life, and it taught me that like I'm a super addictive person, and like these are what I've learned are my triggers, and this is like a pattern that I notice that when I'm going down this, you know, hole where it's hard to get out of, these are the things that I start doing. And then like, so when I like checked myself into a place because I needed to like detox my body, I told like 3 people, and then that held me accountable in like different aspects of my life, like people that are family, people that are like so close, they're not blood, but they're like, I consider them my family. And then one person that's like kind of just out there, like maybe just or not just there, like obviously someone that I trust, but that's not family, not a close friend, but like someone just and that was like my thing, like
made it real.
Yes. And so I think that like, and regardless, I think saying accountability almost is correlated with addiction or whatever, or like admitting. So that's why like I can.
And that's a huge part of recovery, isn't it?
Yeah, is like being accountable, and but I think that it can really like be so important in any type of like hurdle that you are understanding about yourself or whatever it is.
Definitely. I felt like I healed a wound that had just existed simply by writing a book and putting it out into the universe, and then it was no longer just my secret. And I feel like I kept so much of it to myself because I was ashamed, but also because if I never told anybody, it didn't have to be real. And I come from this family that doesn't talk about emotions, that like if something really tragic happened the day before, you don't talk about it tomorrow, you just move on. And that's so not healthy. And so, I mean, so many stories in my book, I had never told anyone, and just like sending them into an editor was the most vulnerable I've ever felt.
Die a little bit inside.
I definitely did. Yes. Just like there's going to be other eyes that read this and know it. And I may have talked about this before, I'm not sure, but the first draft of my book did not include my suicide attempt.
Wow.
I was just like, nope, this didn't happen. And the only people that know it happened, like, we never talk about it.
Yeah.
And so I was just like so ashamed, and I feel like so guilty for thinking that I could, that I thought I could like not be completely honest. And there was at some point in the book where I was just like, I'm putting this out there, like this is no longer about me, this is about like what can I use my past to, who can like I help with my past. So I put it in the 3rd draft of the book.
Oh my God.
Yes. And it became my favorite part of the book, which is hilarious. But my editor kind of nudged me a little because I had talked to her about it, and she nudged me a little, and then I got it in there, and it's like I'm so happy I did, because who knows who that could have helped, or it certainly helped me selfishly.
Your book is incredible.
Thank you.
But and it's like I know you, and reading it is like even I feel like I get like the best of both worlds, knowing you so close, knowing you so personally, and then but also being able to appreciate it as if I didn't know you, if you're just a stranger. But it's so it's so very you. It's so you. So I feel like you, even though, and you've expressed this to me multiple times, that it's aged you profoundly, and you've sucked your soul from your body. But it's because everything in there is so you. It's literally a part of you, on pages, that you know what I mean. And so it's it took a piece of you, but it was it's done so much for so many people, and it's so cool that now it's out there. So you're okay, what can I do with this? Yeah,
it's definitely opened up this world, but I would never have had the balls to openly work with a mental health organization and be I have,
your face is associated with this.
Yeah.
It's the what did you say earlier? It's the what are they called? God damn it, the billboards. The STD billboard.
Yes. It is.
The face of gonorrhea.
That's what it would have been for me 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. And then I don't know, maybe it's just something about getting older, but there came a point in my life where it was I don't want to just do stuff for me. I did that, and it worked out really well, and I got all this cool stuff. So you just keep doing shit for you, like what do you get out of that? Like this seems like so empty and selfish. And so to be able to like really kind of throw myself into like working with like the Judd Foundation, which focuses on youth and mental health. So it's a lot, they, will teach a lot of like teenagers, or college. They do like college courses, and like a really, really sad statistic is that like they have found that they need to teach younger and younger because cyberbullying and social media and just like the pressures that these kids are going on, they're needing mental health education in grade school now.
Wow.
And, suicide was like the number 2, cause of death for like a particular age range. I think it was like, I'm gonna definitely get it wrong, but it was for this like young age range, like teenagers, and it went up to like number 1 last year. Jesus. Like the numbers went up, and so something is getting worse and worse, and we need to get these kids learning sooner and realizing it's okay sooner. And so I was so lucky that like I could mix my audiences. So like so many of my wrestling fans are younger, and to like get them talking about mental health at this young age is so valuable.
Yeah.
We need to normalize it younger.
Definitely. I dated a guy after my divorce. I dated this really interesting guy, and he was a filmmaker, and before we met, he had been diagnosed, I think maybe it was within a year or 2 years of us meeting, and he was diagnosed with I'm gonna get it wrong, but like manic depression, is that, or
it's bipolar?
So
it's the old classification of it.
Just there was a multitude of things that he was like diagnosed with, and he went through like this crazy part in his life where he didn't understand what was happening to him and whatever, and so he got diagnosed, and then like he's this super talented, it's like this such a typical like dark artist, right. You know what I mean, but like he is a super talented videographer, and so he was mostly doing like fitness stuff and like really and doing shooting videos for people in the fitness industry, and his side project was this like thing for mental illness, basically. So he would shoot all these people, these like really well-known, like perfect people, from the outside looking in, within the fitness industry, like the perfect bodies, look like the perfect life. And those that he had gotten close to or worked with, he was like, hey, well, I have a side project, and it's all about like talking about what your mental health, like if, have you ever been diagnosed with anything? What do you struggle with, And so he would do these little videos for these people that seem like larger than life, and like they look like they have everything going for them, but it's just the perception of like, they have their shit together because how they look and what they put out on social media and all this. Right. And then like them sitting down, and then it was nothing artistic, which maybe makes it the most artistic thing about how it was shot. It was just like a straight, tripod. The first one he ever did was on himself.
Wow.
And then, so I just thought it was really interesting and cool that he he really embraced it, and he was like, hey, I want to try to do something with this. So I feel for the longest time, like whenever we were talking, he was trying to get it picked up by a network or something, like this concept that he had to spread awareness, and to his big thing was that for people to accept that therapy is really necessary and so normal, and that literally everyone can benefit from therapy.
Yes.
And that was like one of the big things he would always like talk about. And I just thought it was cool that he found out about himself and then was dealing with it, and then wanting to help use his talent to turn
it into something good. Yeah. And I think it's like no coincidence that he is like an artist of some form. Because like I will always say, and it rubs people the wrong way sometimes, but like I believe that when you have a mental illness, you have access to like a different part of your brain, and sometimes it's a burden, but sometimes it's such a fucking gift. And for me personally, like it has given me this like gift of like ballsiness, and like it has just made me be a little delusional in thinking that I can do anything in the world or reach for these goals that are so outside of like my realistic capabilities. Or if I didn't have bipolar disorder, I would not have thought I could be a wrestler. I wouldn't have thought I could become a superhero in a world where I didn't look like anybody.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't have thought that I could go from wearing short shorts to writing a book and being taken seriously, you know? And so I'm writing a TV show now. Like I would never, I just have like, I think like I can fly because I have bipolar disorder, and it makes me feel things intensely and deeply, and you know, just multiplied from regular emotions.
It's such a stereotype. The tortured
artist is such a stereotype, but it's connected in a beautiful way. I think it's beautiful. I always say people with mental health disorders just see the world in different colors, and sometimes you then paint with those colors.
Right.
And it's sad when someone doesn't realize that, and they are one of the people that can't access that talent because they think they're just like a lost cause. And so like, that was another part of like using the word crazy in my book, was because I didn't want there to be any part of mental health that made people think that it was a negative. Right. I wanted to just say, hey, all of this is awesome and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And like, it's so cool that I'm crazy. I'll call myself crazy. Like there's not a word that you can use to make me feel bad about myself.
Yeah.
I make fun of myself so much. Before anyone else can.
I'll call myself anything.
Yeah. So, you know, like I think it is such a gift, and like some of the most talented people I've ever met have dealt with like anxiety and depression.
Also the most like interesting people.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, and I think when you tap into that super raw like state, or you connect with that super raw side of yourself, you open yourself up to meet so many cool fucking people and to have this like really cool connection with them, and then appreciate shit that you wouldn't have thought that you would appreciate before, or like looking at things in a different way, or whatever. I don't know. I feel like I've had this, I'm like such a hippie right now. Like I've gone through this, I keep calling it my personal renaissance.
Yes.
And I keep looking at it as like, I keep realizing all this shit about myself. And like a lot of it is like quote unquote bad shit, or like destructive or whatever. But it's also kind of setting me free in a lot of ways, and like making me embrace just weird shit. And like, I don't know, like it's just, and you and I talk about it a lot, how we love our 30s. Even we're 31, but 30, there's such a drastic change for us between like 20s and 30s, and
I don't know why that is.
It's not just you turn 30 and all of a sudden there's just something that's so pivotal that happens in this point in your late 20s, and it changes you, and you go through, or I don't know what it is, but like you just look from when you're standing in your 30s, you're like, you look at your 20s and you're like, haha. Like,
yes,
it's so crazy, but you have to go through it.
It's like you need to go through your 20s. I wish I could have gone through my 20s with my 30-year-old brain. That would have been amazing. However, like you need to fuck up and fail and embarrass yourself. Like sometimes like I'll just be sitting and I'll think about like something I said when I was like 23 or like just does some really bad decision I made because I didn't know who I was. And then like I'll get like a chill and just like in real time. And like you have to like forgive your 20s for all the mistakes you made. Like don't purposely make stupid mistakes. Try your fucking best. Don't just go, I'm 20. Like try, but you will fuck up.
Whatever you're trying at is probably not like it's
probably gonna be inconsequential. Like just try. But like there's something that happens as you start wrapping that up and you get closer to 30 where you just know who you are. And like flaws and all, you're like just
unapologetically as fuck.
Yes.
You just own it. And it's so cool.
And you can rule the world if you know who you are and you know your faults and you know if you're lazy for this or you procrastinate this or you're really great at this. That's another thing, like turning 30, like I'm really confident in like saying what stuff that I'm good at. You know, like,
yeah.
I think I had like one interviewer that was like, you know, was like, well, how did you write a book? You're not a writer. And I was like, I am a writer. I became a writer. Like I was like, and I wouldn't have been able to say that in my 20s.
Black lady just now.
I just got like really Puerto Rican.
That's what it is.
My husband says you get really Puerto Rican sometimes.
I checked you for weapons when you walked in. Patted you down.
That's like when I'm like really feeling it.
Like we always we have this joke that like she would always have like a tiny little shank in her shoe.
We're always prepared as Puerto Rican women. We are ready to shank your ass.
Yeah, we will
for sure.
For sure.
And it's another thing I know about myself. Like, so you know your limitations, you know your capabilities, and you just like are comfortable with it. And you just like love yourself. Yeah. And that once you love yourself, it makes you better at loving other people. It makes you better at friendships. It makes you better at work. And everything. It's just like there's like the comfortable, like I'm not anxious the way I was in my 20s. So you have that to look forward to, and just a little bit of wrinkle.
Yeah, we were talking about aging gracefully and like how we want it to happen, and I don't know, like I think there was a period of my life where I really just noticed like that I wasn't like 20 anymore, like 8. We're not 19 anymore, right? Like you have to put like moisturizer and shit on your face and like,
oh my god. Well, okay, so first of all, like you still to this day and probably forever you have like perfect skin. I've like never had a time in my life where I wasn't, I always had severe acne.
You did, and your skin is like so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Like now, but I was there.
You were there for the worst of it. And I just like I think I had got acne at such a young age. So young, I can't even remember. I've always had bags under my eyes. They're like genetic. In all of my baby pictures, I look like a
tired fucking
baby man. Yeah. I would just have puffy,
old soul,
dark eyes. Yeah. And so I've just always had just all this shit with my face to the point where I don't care anymore. Like there was a time when I was like, I need to just. There's always some problem I need to fix with my face. I went on Accutane for like 2 cycles, which was
murderous.
So rough. My face fell off.
Yeah.
But it made me, like, if anyone's struggling with acne, try Accutane if that's your last.
It's some serious shit.
Last resort.
You like can't even, it's like you'll disintegrate if you go in the sun. Is that accurate?
Yes. It's like, you have to go on probiotics for, digestion and all this stuff.
Oh my God. But I mean, we're like children that need severe medication.
Everywhere.
Yeah, because we just have so much shit to talk about. But but also like when you were going through that, like, well, so you said you've always had acne, right? Mm-hmm. Like it was pretty bad,
really
bad. And like when I met you, we went through this like debuting on TV together, right? And you were on fucking TV, and that's like, even though it was a couple years ago, like HD was already there, and like those fucking 3D TVs and shit exist. Well, they didn't exist then, but like basically, so you had to deal with, you're a fucking superhero because you had to deal with, first of all, just in general, like the pressures of being
not looking like everyone,
being in show business, not looking like everyone. Dealing with your mental health issues, and then fucking acne, dude. So like you literally, like, you can stand there now, like you can stand anywhere you want and say like, fuck you,
come
like,
at me,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah, and then you'll stab them like 20 times, like with your little Puerto Rican shank.
For real. See, it was like they could not catch a break. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm very naturally hairy. Like, there's just always something. I wrote about that in my book too. It was like body hair bleach. Like,
yeah, but you know what? People like fucking want your eyebrows so hard now because it's like,
oh my God, I used to get made so much fun.
I've been looking at your eyebrows since you came on Tuesday. I'm like, can you draw some on me? Like, I'm hairy too, but I'm not like that. Your eyebrows are like.
Thank you. They came in style. Like they used to, it used to be as thin as you can get it. Yeah. I've had like everything that was like you shouldn't. Every like don't. I naturally have. And then eyebrows are the one thing that's become cool. Like acne still hasn't become cool for some reason.
It'll maybe like 20, 20,
I'm holding out.
25 maybe.
I still get acne at 31.
If there's going to be one quote that I take out of this to put somewhere to like promote this, that we did this podcast, it will be like, what was it? Acne
still hasn't become cool.
Still hasn't become cool.
And I don't know why, but I really have like just stopped like covering it.
There's a Simpsons episode where, I can't remember the character, but like something along the lines of, I've never noticed how smooth. It was like someone hitting between your acne.
It's Family Guy.
Is it Family Guy?
Yes.
Oh my God, it was Mort Goldman's son, right?
I can't remember the names, but I do remember that.
Oh my God, I'm so pleased with you. Okay, sorry.
And those were like the best moments where I'm like, ooh, the skin between these two pimples is solid. And then it just went and then I had like a couple of years of like really clear skin, and then it went just to wrinkles right away. So I've literally everything that everyone fears about being judged or having wrong with their face, I had it on HD international television. So like,
wow.
like, just try and fuck with me.
Okay, you can, yeah, seriously.
And I still like succeeded and like did like really well. And so I know I can like conquer any obstacle, but that's another thing in your 30s. You just stop giving a fuck. And you know you were indestructible. Yeah.
Even the slightest breeze could now it's a Simpsons reference. There's this episode of Simpsons where Mr. Burns goes to the doctor, and the doctor comes back into the room after all the results, and he's like, well, Mr. Burns, I have good news and I have bad news. I'm butchering this, but the bad news is you have something we call the Three Stooges syndrome. It's like you have so many diseases that when they all try to get through the door at once, they can't. And it does like a little demonstration of pushing all these like little funny like representations of diseases through this doorway, and none of them will fit. And he's like making the Three Stooges, like trying to push them through the thing.
Oh my God.
And so he's like, so basically they're all like kind of canceling each other out, like nothing. And Mr. Burns is like, so I'm invincible. And the doctor's like, no, even the slightest breeze. And it's like my fucking favorite like ever. But no, I feel certainly we have very different circumstances. Like we both had like a tough,
similar in a lot of the same way.
Like we both had a tough childhood,
yes.
Right? Yours was like a more intense than mine in a lot of ways, and then I had my own shit that was super intense, and like we have this like almost like misfit relationship in a way, I think. I was never like the ugly duckling. I was like, I've struggled with my weight and like how big I am for still to this. I mean, maybe deep into like my 20s, but still a little bit I struggle with it. But I was always like, I always had a really like a pretty face, and then just like a really muscular body, and then or like a little too heavy body, and it was this like I didn't quite fit in, if we're talking about maybe like show business or like you know, the profile of like what a woman in show business should look like or whatever on screen. I didn't quite fit that either, and I was kind of in this like, ooh, I was about to say I was in this awkward stage. I almost spilled my tea on the table. So I kind of like struggled with what I kind of had which side do I want to embrace? Like, what do I want to try to be? Like, who am I? Right. And then I also felt like I was always very comfortable with being like unfiltered.
Yes.
And that was either looked at as like being crude or like unladylike, or like what's appropriate at certain times. And like I've embraced that, my super inappropriateness at the most inappropriate times, to be like one of my best qualities, because like it really breaks it helps people be like, okay, this bitch just said that, we're cool, like I can kind of like
they know
breathe.
One way or the other. Also, it's like it will make people who don't want to be your friend go, oh, I can't handle that.
Yeah, you really kind of just you put it out there right away, and you're like, this is who I am. Like I make like really fucked up jokes about stuff, and like and sometimes they're not jokes, like they're serious, or like, you know, and I think that is took me the longest to embrace, and then I've like I've honed in on it.
You have.
I've honed.
Have you ever on this or in other interviews talked about your tryout, your WWE tryout?
Yeah.
You have?
I not like really, because since I've made this
Transition?
there it is. Why don't I know words? You're so sorry.
We complete each other.
Since I made a transition from wrestling, and then like I was like bartending and kind of going to school, not really knowing what I wanted to do. Got the opportunity to try out for WWE, got signed, and then was gonna fast forward really quick. And then when I decided to leave the company, I got married, started a business, and then got a divorce. And now I had to like basically learn how to run a business and be like a young executive after living this kind of like trailer parky, like crazy professional wrestling.
Right.
Oh, I'm a super into the fitness industry, don't really have to do shit. Like I went through all these weird stages of like being a different person.
Stages.
And then anyways, and then had to transform or transition into being a businesswoman and like learning how to fucking run a business and be a boss and being like know how to make executive decisions and not make just so I used so much of the experiences that I got when I was wrestling and applied them to being this like executive woman and being ballsy and like just saying fuck it and like trusting my gut and like just go, what other choice do I have? Which is like literally the story of my debut on TV. But so what I was getting at is like I've been putting myself out there, and I have like a PR company and like my marketing team and stuff. We were trying to get me into this space of being a young executive while still embracing the super rough around the edges side of me. So I do all these interviews and like for different publications that are like really about like women's empowerment and like being women executives and with these cool stories and stuff. So I write a lot about how I started in WWE, but never really in too much detail because the focus now is more is where I am now. But my trial is like not real. Like it's not like a real. It seems like I made it up.
It is how I fell in love with you, like immediately, and it is. I feel like it's like such a. First of all, it is the basis of everything that you are. Like it is like if I had to explain you in one story, it would be your tryout. But also it's like a great lesson for people. Right. So I sort of feel like I need to tell people. Right. You know the name, but I'm going to butcher the names. You have to tell me who the girl was, the character.
Oh, it's Molly Shannon's character on SNL. What's her? Let me Google it. Like
the one that says I'm 50.
I'm 50.
So at this particular time in wrestling, there was very much a standard of female that was polished and sexy and sex kitteny and bombshelly. And if you were being brought in for a tryout, it was to fit this mold. And every now and then there would be someone like me or Serena who would just be someone from the indies. Right. But it was very much we were just there to like help the gorgeous woman like you
if anyone's
get better.
if anyone's not listening and like someone from the indies is someone who's worked in the independent wrestling scene and learned how to work and really just took all of this shit. Right.
Yes.
And
like wrestled in high school gyms.
Yes.
And, didn't make any money.
Sorry, I'm Googling it. The character's name, and I really should know this, was Sally O'Malley.
Sally O'Malley.
Yes.
So during your tryout, you have to have a match, which I got to have your tryout match, which was so cool that I get to say that.
I always tell you you're my first, my last, and you're my first, my best, and my last.
Oh my God, I love it so much. That same day, you tried out with like 4 or 5 different girls, and I had to have a match with all of you on camera.
You poor thing.
That was my job.
It was
like to just give every girl her tryout, like be like the utility person. And so you had like all these gorgeous girls with you, and then you were like naturally like athletic. But like all of you were like athletes, right? They were trying a little bit more like athletic women, I think was the thing.
They were like dipping into the fitness industry, finding girls.
And so it was like really impressive. So then you have to do a promo, which is you just talk into the microphone, you have this character, and everyone's just doing, like kind of a standard, like what you know if you like vaguely know wrestling. And then you go up there and did you have the underwear or did you just hike your pants up?
It took a bit of preparation, but I think I just had the pants, I had a dress on with the shorts underneath.
Okay. And you just did this impression from Saturday Night Live, this Molly Shannon impression, and just like you could hear a fucking pin drop in the room because everyone was so uncomfortable.
It was more like, what? Who the fuck does this girl think she is? Exactly. I remember so in the, you know how we always joke where we do something and we do a heavy chest breathe and we have waiting for approval, jazz hands, we're like,
yes.
That was literally what I felt like at that moment. But so I knew that in these tryouts, I knew that I'm not your standard girl. I have more, or not everyone. There's no your standard girl, right? But I'm not this
But there was a formula at the time to fill.
There was and I knew that I had something. A, I had to do something to stand out, and B, that I had it, and I needed to figure out how to showcase it. And it's this. And I'll cue it back to my uncanny ability to be so inappropriate at the time that it's probably required the most. And so I was like, what the fuck can I do? And so I was I was thinking the night before because I knew I was going to have to get on the mic the next day. And so I always love a good old fashioned surprise. And so I came in with a dress. I had done my makeup and I had heels on, I'm pretty sure. And I started off my name is Celeste. I'm from Houston. I love sports. Your bullshit ass. This is who I am. And then before right when I got to the school that morning, I found my dear. Well, I haven't talked to him in a long time, but his character was Derek Bateman when we wrestled.
God, yeah.
And I had known him for literally just a couple of days, 2 days, because I think we started on a Monday and promo day was on Wednesday, right? It was always Wednesdays or Thursday. Was it Thursday? I don't know. The point is I knew him for 3 days, and I found him in the morning. I was like, hey, can you be my promo, please? And he was had been at the school, he was signed already. And he was like, okay. And I was like, here's the deal. This is what I'm gonna do. Can you just be in it? And he was like, okay, cool. So I get it. So I start off, and then I, said some super inappropriate shit about my ass looking like two midgets wrestling, something so terrible. I wish that I had my notes, with the shit that I wrote that night before the morning of or whatever. It was so fucking inappropriate. And then so I said something that was the shock value. I love a good shocker, right? And that kind of grabbed everyone by the balls, which was what I wanted. And then I pulled my shorts that I had under my dress that you didn't know I was wearing up over my dress, really high, Sally O'Malley. And I had, I can't remember how exactly it went. And then I had Derek come and sit or be the object in the ring. And I was just did all these stretches and weird sexual obscure shit on him or around him. And saying I'm 50, pulling my pants up, just and literally when I was done, it was seriously that moment of waiting for acceptance. And then all of the students, my peers and the people trying out were just what the fuck? And you know who started clapping first?
Who?
John Laurinaitis.
He loved it.
He did. But and you know why? It's I knew my fucking audience.
Yes.
So we had so John Laurinaitis, it was John Laurinaitis, Ty Bailey, and a couple of people from the office had flown in for the tryout. So really important people. So that was their age group. That was something I knew that they would appreciate. And I remember it because John Laurinaitis' voice is so distinct. I could hear his laughter. It was the first thing that I heard.
Oh,
and I was I think it was seriously one of my proudest moments for just deciding to do
went
that.
for it.
Yeah.
You just had the balls and went for it, and it just it paid off because I think no other girl got signed except for you, and there's a handful of girls who were total packages, except they weren't, you know, they didn't have your sense of humor and confidence and just like risk taking, and that it just spoke such volumes. And I just thought like, this girl is so strange and we love her. And like we like became friends so soon after.
Yeah.
You'd made a very inappropriate joke. It was it's a very similar situation. You made an inappropriate joke in the locker room and no one fucking laughed. And I died.
But you know why that situation was so funny? It's because it was a room of darkness. There was no lights on. So all I heard was your precious laughter. Your evil, evil, precious laughter.
But that was when I knew you were meant for me. I was like, oh my God, she will go there. And it's been so long.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, making jokes and having them fall flat, and just like knowing I couldn't find like my match, or like, you know, someone who like was the yin to my yang.
Yes.
And like we seem so opposite in so many ways, but like that's kind of like yin and yang. They fit together.
Yes.
Perfectly. And that's what I knew. And then we fell in love, and we've been together ever since.
Yes, we've been in a very serious relationship ever since.
Oh my gosh. But it really is this like lesson to just like, if something feels right, and even if it's not, if you think it's going to fall flat or no one else is going to get it, just like if you feel it in your gut, like that it's telling you something. Your gut will never lie to you. It's like about good things and about bad things.
Right.
Like your gut needs to be listened to. It's just like how, if you choose to do it. It's terrifying to choose to listen.
It really is. Actually, just gave me the chills. It is. It's like, it's you always know. Like, trust that you know when something is right or wrong, or it is that you nailed it. It's like the scariest thing to like know, because then you're like, if you don't do what you know is right or gonna get you to where you want to be, you're gonna fucking regret that shit.
Yes, and I will always say, like, at the end of your life, like, would you rather look back and regret the decisions you made, or would you rather look back and regret the chances you didn't take?
Yep.
And you're either one type of person or another. Like, you'd rather have, I don't know, your dignity intact or something, or like,
What's that?
What's that? Or
you left that in a hotel room like 8 years ago. Probably tanning each other.
I'm pretty sure, like, the second, like, we washed each other's hair, you were always really helping me wash my hair. I can't even say. I wanted to make it seem even.
Yeah, no. I just washed your hair a lot.
I was in the red in this relationship. We established that. But, like, you will, you're either a personality type that's, like really thrives in comfort, and if that makes you happy, then that makes you happy. But, like, looking back, like, I regret the chances I didn't take. I am that type of person. I'm so happy that I tried and failed in however ways I failed, because, maybe twice as many I tried and succeeded.
Yeah. Failure is so amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
It makes you tough. And
then
then you can still be left at the end of the day with the pride of knowing that you went for it. And then what is there to regret?
Exactly. Like, then you kind of have this piece that, like, you left it all out there, and, like, you gave yourself the chance. And I mean, I do look back and, like, shudder when I think about certain mistakes I made, or choices I made, or things I've said, or people I've trusted, and, like, when ignoring my instincts. But I learned so many invaluable lessons from all of those, like, face plants.
What is, and I'm sure, I feel like I should have asked you this before you said that, but, like, what is for somebody who's just listening and maybe has followed your story, or is literally just now hearing your voice for the first time and learning about you, like, what is something that you would want to, like, leave them with that universally you feel like could help somebody, no matter what their situation was or what their goal was, just, like, in life? Like, what you feel like you've really learned and can apply to anything and pass on to somebody?
I think I've learned that you don't have to see it for it to be possible. And I don't know why, but everything I've ever wanted in life has been something that every position of authority or just society or just the rules that we all, the unspoken rules we follow, has told me I shouldn't be, or I couldn't be, or I couldn't have. And there was no like example before me. They say like it's really hard to be what you cannot see. So like little brown girls, sitting at home who are not, who grew up the ugly duckling and were super poor. There was no example to tell me that I could go to an Ivy League school, or I could be on television and be a love interest in storylines, or I was extremely underweight and sick all the time, and there was no one telling me I could be a superhero and strong. I had no idea that these things were possible, and I had to like be the example I wanted to see. And that makes it so much harder, but also being the first is kind of the greatest feeling, because you like kick down a door and now the door is kicked down and people can have an easier time getting through it.
Unless you're like those 33 diseases with the Three Stooges syndrome trying to get, sorry. No.
Exactly. But so I always say, just because it hasn't been done before, like, don't see that as a negative, that it's impossible. See it as, oh, you get to be the first. Like, that's just like a challenge to me now. So
you have so many flags that you've planted places.
Yes, that I should not have been, that nobody thought like I could get there. And I'm like, I feel like I'm still doing that. And every new adventure I go on in my career or life, it's like uncharted territory.
It is.
There's not a lot of authors who were a belly shirt for money. There's there's not a lot of
them that don't have that have an ass that just doesn't quit.
But there's not a lot of 31-year-old women just getting into television. I'm writing a TV show, and I think it's hilarious. Like, I didn't graduate school, and I was trying to study film and television, and I just took this like really winding road, and now I'm making TV. Like, that was not a route anyone told me was possible.
Right.
and you just figure it out. So I think like in my old wisdom, all of my 31 years, like, it would be like, take that as a challenge and just like be the first. And then you can like help inspire like the next generation. You can be like that example. It's a harder road. You get bloodied. The first, the first in the battlefield gets really bloodied.
Yeah.
And like lays their life down. But
it's so worth it.
It's worth it for everyone that comes after you, in just like in every aspect of life.
Thank you for listening to The Unglamorous Life.
Please subscribe to the podcast and leave us any feedback.
Go to celestialbodies.com
and laurinconlin.com.
and remember, life is unglamorous.